Hey everyone, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com, and I'm here today with a model showcase video for this 1/35th scale Taiwanese M48H, or also known as the CM-11 main battle tank. Unlike the other smaller scale build videos which are posted on my video listings, in which those builds are meant for commission and belong to a private collector, the model that you see here was built for my own personal collection and is not for sale and or purchase. However, I often take on commission builds from projects ranging from 1/35th scale all the way up to 1/6 scale. For availability and pricing information, that information would be best by contacting me through the email address listed below, which is info@eastcoastarmory.com. The model that you see here is built mostly out of the box, however does feature several add-on upgrades in which we'll be going over these additions as well as the base model in this video. First, a quick walk around the model. To the casual observer, the M48H looks like your average M60A1 or even an M48 Patton. However, looks can be misleading. The M48H is actually a mix of two vehicles in order to create one. This is not unheard of, specifically in terms of Taiwanese vehicles. The Taiwanese have always had a history of cobbling together multiple tank designs in order to create a tank for themselves. This is the story with the CM-11. Prior to this vehicle, the Republic of China, or also known as Taiwan, utilized the M48A3 Patton. This vehicle was used for a number of years. However, it was becoming abundant towards the 1980s that the M48A3 was becoming heavily antiquated and was no longer going to be adequate for the task at hand. Rather than upgrading its fleet of M48A3s to M48A5s or even M60A1s, what the Taiwanese did was they went ahead and acquired numerous M60A1 hulls from the United States. They went ahead and also retrofitted the M48A3 turrets with 105mm guns from the M60A1 in much the same way that was done with the M48A5 upgrading program, which was done in the United States. The purpose of doing this is that it saves on costs in that you only need to acquire hulls. The Taiwanese have also had a lot of patent components on hand, thus saves also on the maintenance of the vehicles. And on top of that, the crews were trained with the M48 series of vehicles, so training the crews for a new vehicle was not as needed or as mandatory as would have been if they would have simply upgraded to the M60. The CM-11s entered service in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The vehicles are still in service today with the Republic of China and have continuously been upgraded in order to keep them up with current technologies. It's also important as a note that in 2008, the Republic of China also received a shipment of M60A1 battle tanks in order to supplement their tank force. Before I continue with the video, let's go ahead and take a step back to when the model was first started in order to get a good idea on what the original kit contents were. And here's the model before assembly. For the starter kit, starting off with this mid-1990s vintage AFV Club M48H CM-11. This kit here was one of the first full plastic kits that were released by AFV Club shortly after the company's founding in the mid-1990s. The box has the typical type of illustrations that one would find with these older style AFV Club kits. As for the kit's availability, this kit I believe might still be in production, only AFV Club has a different box art with the ones that are a newer release. The kit is somewhat rare to find in the United States. It's not an average type kit that you'll find in your local hobby shop. However, some hobby shops might have one of these kits floating around. This kit that you see here I purchased from a vendor at a model show a few years ago, and the model has been sitting in my stash ever since. I have seen these models, however, posted on eBay as well as other online e-tailers, so they are fairly common. One thing that's very interesting about this kit is that it's not just your average garden variety Patton. The model that's in this box here contains parts from 3 other kits that mix match together to create the CM-11. It's actually very similar to what the real Taiwanese did in actually creating the CM-11 main battle tank. Inside the box, you will see components from Academy as well as AFV Club. The Academy components are that of 2 of their kits. You have components from their M60A1, components from their M48 Patton, as well as AFV Club components from their M88. Opening up the box to see what's inside. Here we see the components, which are molded in your typical Academy green plastic. Now, for those of you who are used to working with Academy kits and have built a few of the Academy Pattons, this will seem like deja vu. It's also worth noting that the base kit for the M60 as well as the M48 that were our Academies are actually based and copies of the Tamiya versions that were released many years ago. Starting with the turret, it's your basic M48 Patton turret. It does have some cast texturing on it, as well as some small detailing. Moving our way to the body. Now, as you can see, the body is that of an M60A1 and not of an M48. As you can see, there's the Academy markings, which are molded into the upper hull. And the lower hull has its motorization holes, which is, again, lifted from the Tamiya version. The Academy M60A1 does have some adequate detailing for the M60 series. And the Academy variants build just as easily as the Tamiya ones do. Here we go, some components. Obviously, some components on some of these runners here will not be used on this vehicle, namely that of the M60A1 Commander's Copula. And some components on their M48A5 runner will also not be used, namely that of the hull components. As for the parts themselves, they are clean and crisply molded and are typical what you would expect for an Academy kit. Digging in, now we have here the parts that are from AFV Club. Starting with the suspension, the road wheels and the running gear are lifted from their M88 series. And here goes a runner which is specific for the M48H. This runner here pretty much fills in the gaps which are left from the other components that we saw earlier. As for the model's track, the tank comes with workable AFV Club M60 octagonal pattern track links. These track links I've used on several M60 builds in the past. Those builds can be seen on my video listings. These tracks are highly recommended and assemble very nicely and are highly regarded in the 1/35th scale armor modeling community. Getting down to the bottom of the box takes us to a runner that has some weapons on it. Here we have an M2HB, as well as another light machine gun, which is used by the Taiwanese military. Also in the bag here is a tow cable rope, as well as a decal sheet. Getting to the bottom of the box takes us to the instructions. As you can see, you have a lot of caricature type drawings in it, which is typical for kits from AFV Club, as well as a few of the other Asian manufacturers. The instructions are pretty much self-explanatory and are illustrated quite well. Here's another instruction sheet that has more components in it, as well as another color scheme on how to actually paint the tank. And apparently it's good at chasing T-55s. Starting with the model's lower suspension, the suspension that you see here is all basically built out of box with very few mods needed to have been added. Starting with the tank's road wheels, the road wheels that you see here are an M48 style road wheel and are, if we recall, are lifted from the M88 from AFV Club. The AFV Club road wheels do have a little hollowed out portion in the center of the road wheels in order to mount on a polycap. However, polycaps are not included with the starter kit. Fortunately, in my spare parts bin, I found a runner of polycaps from a previous project. Those polycaps were simply added to the AFV Club road wheels, and then the road wheels were simply mounted to the tank. The road wheels that you see here are mounted to the tank via polycap and not adhesives. Moving our way to the track. The track is the non-directional octagonal pattern. They are workable track links, and if we recall, are supplied with the kit, which is actually a very nice touch, as the AFV Club tracks are a very nice addition to add to your Tamiya or Academy M60s. They are workable and do have very nice articulation and mesh extremely well with the stock Academy sprocket. One unique feature on this build, however, if we notice, is that on the every fifth end connector, the end connector is painted white. This was seen in a real CM-11 that I found on the internet, and this little feature was incorporated in the build that you see here. Also, if we notice, the track metal components are a brownish color. A lot of viewers might be watching this and thinking that I just went ahead and added rust to the track. That's actually not true. In this same photograph, you will see that the track links, the metal components, have a rust-proof oxide on the parts, which protect them from wear as well as rust and oxidation. This feature was built into the model and was added to the metal components that you see here. All the rubber components, namely the inner pads as well as the outer pads, were weathered and painted to replicate slightly worn rubber. Moving on to the tank sprocket. The tank sprocket that you see here is purely left stock Academy / Tamiya. The stock sprockets are absent the little mud holes, which are found on the sprocket drum, which on the real tank would allow mud to escape and fling out from accumulating in the center portion here. Now, in the past, I have added it to certain builds. However, I recently found a picture on the internet of a real M60A1 sprocket, and it was void of any mud slits that are commonly found on most sprockets. So leaving the sprocket stock without the mud slits is not necessarily incorrect, as obviously there were several of the real sprockets floating around in inventory. Moving up from the suspension takes us to the bow headlights. One modification that I made to the kit that is an easy modification to be made to every single Academy and Tamiya M60A1 out there is that of the supports for the brush guards. The headlight brush guards on the Academy and Tamiya kits are missing the small little support. The support itself was a simple addition to be made. It's made out of a plastruct angle that was cut and shaped in order to fit in these two locations here. Once added, greatly helps the look and accuracy of the model. While on the front, moving up to the tank's fire extinguisher box. On most American AFV, the fire extinguisher box has two red painted handles in order to pull in case of an emergency. The handles are found on the kit. This is the stock unit, and a simple brush of red paint greatly helps again the look and accuracy of the build. Moving along takes us to the heater exhaust pipe. One staple bit of detailing that is found on the M60 and M48 series of vehicles is that of the internal hull heater and this exhaust pipe that comes out of the front and emerges from the fender. The heater pipe that you see here is stock. The one mod that I made to it that helps the look of it is with a Dremel I dremeled out the end of the exhaust pipe. With the addition of the hole as well as the rust and grime weathering that was added, greatly helps the detailing and again the look of the model. Moving up to the turret of the model, this is where the model really becomes interesting and what separates it from your standard Tamiya or Academy M60 or even an M48. As we recall, the turret is actually that of an M48A5, and the parts used are a mix between the Academy M48A5 kit as well as some other parts from AFV Club. First, to mount the turret to the hull, there is an adapter ring that you add from AFV Club. It comes with the kit. To mount this piece on, you will need to delete the original turret lock tabs in order to get this piece to fit nice and snug. In addition to mounting the piece, the turret locks on the hull had to have been enlarged, as the stock ones were too small and the turret would not have fit onto the hull properly. Once the pieces were enlarged, the turret is a simple drop-in and rotate installation, which is standard on all 1/35th scale tank kits. Moving to the tank smoke trajectors, the vehicle features the standard M60A3 style smoke trajector. They are kit supplied and were built out of box. The one mod that I did to them, however, was that I added the firing cable detailing to both ejectors. It's a simple piece of thin wire that was drilled into the turret as well into the back of the smoke trajector. The addition of this little piece of wiring, again, also helps kick the model up to another notch. Moving along the side of the turret takes us to the, I believe it's the flare box. Typically these are found on the M60 A1 series and they're on the rear bustle portion of the turret. However, on the M48H, it's located here on the front. These again are stocked with the kit and are a simple addition. From there takes us to the rear bustle rack. The rack again started off as the kit supplied unit, however was modified in that having its meshwork added. One drawback on the Academy and Tamiya style Patton and M60s is that the meshwork that is supplied with the kit is that of a flexible piece of fiberglass mesh or a vinyl mesh. This material it's just applied with the kit in order just to get you off the ground. However, it is strongly recommended to replace this component here with photo etch mesh that I use here on the model. Now, in the past, for this application here, I would utilize a photo etch mesh from K&S Brass. Unfortunately, that product is long out of production and is no longer found. Luckily, as a good substitute, there is photo etch mesh from Edward. There's the item number as well as the mesh itself. The mesh is almost identical in standard and quality to the K&S and was cut and mounted in the same manner. Once the meshwork is added, it greatly helps improve the look of the model. Another mod that helps the appearance of the model is that of the tow cable. On the Tamiya and Academy Patton and M60A1s, the tow cable is supplied with you as a piece of string that connects two plastic end connectors. The string and end connectors are adequate. You can use them for some good results. However, what is missing are the little clips and guides that the tow cable snaps into, which is actually attached to the turret. The versions that you see here are made out of very thin strips of brass, which were simply cut, bent, added, and then painted to the rest of the model. As you can see, once added, also helps the accuracy of the build. Moving to the opposite side of the turret is basically a mirror image with the exception of the jerry can. In this case, it is the AFV Club kit supplied one, which is adequate for the job, as well as the mounting hardware for the 7.62 millimeter machine gun that's found on the roof. Moving our way to the front of the vehicle takes us to the main gun and the mantlet. Now, the original 90 millimeter gun that was found on the M48 series was replaced with the 105 millimeter gun from the M60A1. This was done as the M48A5 modification program. The CM-11 features the 105 millimeter guns from the M60A1. The gun and the mantlet that you see here are supplied with the kit, and assemble fairly easily. The one portion of this build that was difficult, however, was actually mounting in the rotor to the stock turret. This did require some fitting and some tweaking in order to get the piece to fit like the way you see here. The gun is fully functional, that you can elevate and depress the component on the piece. Also, if we notice on the barrel portion of the mantlet, you'll see that even though the mantlet is painted in a black coloring, the ribs have a khaki appearance to them. This too was found on a real CM-11 that I've seen photographed. Moving our way to the top of the turret takes us to the Erdan low profile commander's copula, as well as the loader's hatch. Another modification that was made to the M48 series during the A5 upgrade program was the removal of the little mini turret that was found on the M48 series with that of a low profile turret. This was done with feedback from the Israelis, in which they found that during the Yom Kippur War that the higher profile copula was actually a shot trap and was a point of target for enemy tankers and RPG crews. The lower profile copula that you see here was developed by the Israelis and is known as the Erdan copula. Also, as of note, the copula design is actually reminiscent to the original M48 design, which came out in the 1950s, and which was then replaced with the little commander's gunner copula version. Anyway, back to the model. The hatches that you see here are fully functional, and this is really as per the kit. This is for both the copula as well as the loader's hatch. Their interior detailing of the hatches is present. However, there is no interior detailing inside the model. The commander's Erdan copula is also able to rotate, just like the other original copula did before. The machine guns that come with the kit are stock with the AFV Club model and are simply just painted and weathered and installed. The bullet belts were painted with that of the brass shell casings, the full metal jacket, as well as the links, which you would see running down the center of the bullet belt. This was also done with the 7.62 version. One device that is found on the CM-11 that is not found on the M48A5 is that of this little device here. In addition to receiving the M60A1 105mm gun, the CM-11 also received a computer and targeting computer upgrade. This upgrade here involves the addition of this device. This device here measures the wind in order to calculate the gun so that you have a better chance on hitting the target on the first shot. This device here is found on the M60A3, as well as, I believe, also the M60A1, and this particular unit is identical to the ones found on the M1 Abrams. Moving on to the paint and camouflage of the vehicle, the model that you see here is a more contemporary variant of the CM-11, which sports a three-tone NATO-style camouflage. As for the tank's markings, the markings that you see here are actually the kit original supplied decals. The decals that came with the kit were really good quality. There were absolutely no issues in applying the markings to the model that you see here, which is actually very noteworthy because these decals and the whole kit itself does date back to the 1990s, and the kit is approximately 20 some odd years old now. Other notes for the vehicle: after building this model, one modification that I recommend for anyone who really wants to bring this kit up to the next level is the addition of the Legends M60A3 detail upgrade set. That set contains lots of photo etch as well as resin add-ons for the tank's lower hull, which will really make it shine and stick above what the kit offerings are. As for building the kit out of the box, it was a fairly decent build. However, did require a little bit more hand fitting compared to your standard Tamiya or Academy units, namely with the kit supplied AFV Club parts. However, one thing as of note though is that what AFV Club did is they actually kind of kit bashed the vehicle for you. In that prior to this kit, you were going to have to source out a M60A1 as well as an M48A5 kit and do the kit conversion yourself. AFV Club saves you a lot of time and effort in doing that and wrapping it all in one package for you. Plus, the addition of some of the other Taiwanese specific parts is also another component that you're not going to have to scrounge or even scratch build. As for a skill level recommendation, the kit here, because of the workable track links, as well as some of the hand fitting that was required from some of the AFV Club parts, I recommend this to someone who is an intermediate to an advanced model builder. Even though at its heart it's really an Academy M60 and M48, with the addition of those other parts makes it just a little bit more complicated and a little bit more in-depth compared to the straight out-of-the-box M60 and M48 offerings. And that is why I recommend this kit for someone who's built both of those kits in the past, knows them, and is ready for something of the next step. Another thing I found interesting about this kit is actually the subject matter in itself. This vehicle here is this very interesting evolutionary offshoot off the M48 and M60 family tree. And if anyone is a fan of the Patton series tanks, I strongly recommend acquiring one of these kits and building one, as it offers a nice little footnote in the Patton lineage. And that concludes this model showcase video for this 1/35th scale M48H CM-11 Taiwanese main battle tank. If you like this video, stop by and like us on Facebook. And don't forget to check out eastcoastarmory.com for more 1/6 and 1/16 scale builds and detail components. Thank you.